Hello, my name is Oliver Ganathan, and on behalf of Limbo Robotics FRC Team 9477, I'm super excited to be presenting today on CAD and Design with OnShape Lesson 3. In this lesson, we'll be looking at advanced extrusions, or first part at least, and in this one, we'll be just going over basic tools, and we'll be practicing with these tools. In the next tutorial, which is Advanced Extrusions Part 2, the second one of the series, we'll be finishing up our discussion with tools as well as looking into the applicability of Part Studios. So very important stuff. And without further ado, let's begin. So let's look at the table of contents. We'll be obviously to be taking a look at objectives. Then we'll be looking at lesson content, guided practice after that, and you guys will be doing a performance task to practice your skills. Objectives. In today's lesson, you will learn how to utilize the advanced features of the extrude tool, utilize advanced extrusion creation tools to create unique extrusions, and you will be using extrusion modification tools to develop useful extrusions. So let's get started. Advanced extrude. So in previous lessons, we learned how to create 3D objects from 2D planes. This is called extrusion. Extrusions can also be used to intersect with other parts as well as add or remove from existing extrusions. So let's learn more about these extrusions. So we have a rectangle here. So this is just a basic rectangle. If you want to learn how to create a basic rectangle, I suggest you guys watch part 1 or the video lesson 1 of the series to make sure you're good with the basics before we, obviously have more stuff to do. But obviously, let's click on extrude, or you can do Shift E, doesn't matter. And you can see we were just been working with solid and new. There's many different types you could do. You can do surface, which is new. You can do thin. Well, for right now, we just want to worry about solid because we're just working with parts. So, and what we want to look at here is just these 4 options. So we already did new. New is just creating a new shape. Add, what you can do is click on a face or a sketch, and you can add to an existing extrusion. But remember, you can only use this tool if an extrusion already exists on the face or part you're trying to, or sketch region, excuse me, that you're trying to extrude from. So if I do this, it'll create this extra layer. Now let's take a look at remove. Before that, let's say we want to create a hole. Click on the sketch plane, boom, boom, boom. Okay, beautiful hole. So now let's click on extrude again, and let's click on the center of this. And so in the center, you can see that obviously it'll add to this, but we don't want it to add, right? We want it to remove. So if we click on remove, it'll go through this part, which is the merge scope, right? It's called the merge scope. That's what it's called. And so you can click on these options up to next what? Up to face, which is if you click on a face that you want to use it, you can go to there, and it'll create a nice little hole for our extrusion. Beautiful. All right. Now, let's take a look at our next type of advanced extrusion, which is intersect. So if I click on this face here, and I do intersect, and I go down, right? Let's say I go up first. It says the parts either do not intersect or not totally contained. So you can only adjust this with intersect. So if I go down into previous extrusion 1 with extrude 4, it will form an extrusion or updated extrusion that intersects through a previous extrusion. So now if I click enter, right, I can see that it has created this separation here because this is the only area or volume where extrusion 1 and extrusion 4 exist. So that is how intersect works. And this is how advanced extrusion works. Now let's delete this. This is really just a bonus thing, right? If you want to learn it, but the tools that we learn later can be really critically important. So I do want to make sure that you guys understand how to use this advanced extrusion so that it'll be very useful when you're in your future. So we'll create this rectangle again. All right, let's go back to present. Let's move on. So next we have the revolve tool. The revolve tool is an extrusion creation tool that allows you to add or remove or create 3D representations from planar faces around an axis. This tool is excellent for creating objects such as spheres and circular extrusions for your designs. Let's observe this tool. All right, so let's go to this sphere document here. You can see there's already a sphere, but I don't want to do that. I want to delete this. And so let's just start off with this sketch here. So we have a circle with a radius of 3 and a line down the center. So let's observe why I created this in the first place. So the parameters for the revolve method or revolve tool is you need a planar face to create your sketch, and you need an axis. So we have a planar face here, and then we have an axis here. So now we can create this tool. So if you click on revolve or if you do Shift W, either way works. You can see it looks very similar to the extrude tool, but obviously it deals with an axis. So let's do a simple one with just new. We click on this face here, and then we click on axis, and we click that. And so you can obviously adjust the type. You can do full, which is what creates a sphere. One direction, you can adjust it. It'll go all the way around like that. You can, based on the angle, you can do symmetric or two directions. We're just going to do full because we want a sphere. When you look at that, we created a nice looking sphere here that obviously we can modify and use in our designs. Very useful. You can use it as a ballpoint. You can use it as really anything. And so this is obviously a phenomenal tool you can use. Let's move on. Next, we have the fillet. So fillet is a unique tool used in both OnShape and engineering to create rounded faces or edges with a given radius. The fillets can remove sharp points of contact and modify extrusion to create new parts. Let's observe the extrusions of fillets or with fillets. So let's click here. We have our nice little shape here that we created. Now let's take a look at the fillet tool. So we click on Shift F, or you can click on this top one right here with the rounded edge. And so you click, so we have first two types. So we have edges and full round. Let's look at edges first. So don't worry about these other features for now. So we have the measurement. Remember, the measurement has to be radius and the control has to be distance. You can obviously click conic or curvature, but we just want distance. We click here, and we've created a nice, you can adjust obviously. You can do 1 inch, 0.5 inch, doesn't really matter. Still, all of it, let's do 1 inch to see what happens. Yeah, it'll go all the way to the ground here. So it kind of creates a circle with a radius of 1 inch. And so we create a nice little tool here for fillet. Now let's do full round. So full round is a little different. You have to select faces and not edges. So we click this face here. We want to do it around this side here. We click this face here again, and then we click the faces to round. We click this guy. And as you can see, just with just two fillets, I didn't even do anything else. I've converted a rectangle into something that looks like a very unique and useful part. I could probably add holes or areas for nuts and bolts to go through so that it can actually be of use. And so that shows how these modification tools can really create useful designs. Let's move on. There you go. Chamfer. So chamfer is very similar to fillet. So chamfer is a unique tool that allows users to create beveled edges through distance and direction. Similar to the purpose of fillet, chamfer allows you to reduce sharper edges while allowing for intricate and effective plate designs. So let's observe this tool. Let's click over here. Let's delete all the fillet stuff that we were just working on. Let's just change it all to chamfer. And so let's click chamfer at the top here. And you can see the measurement is offset. We want to do offset first. There's not really major difference between offset and tangent, but just keep it at offset for now as like a beginner. So chamfer type is equal distance. You can do two distances or a distance and an angle. So we'll test all of these. So we click here, and it'll create a distance 2 inches. Let's create it as 0.5. I don't want it to go 0.5. There you go. So you can see this. It creates like a beveled side edge that can be very useful, and it kind of reduces the sharpness of edges overall. So now let's look at the other side, and let's do a different type of chamfer. So let's do two distances. So obviously you can experiment with this. This is usually have no effect. So if you click this here, you can adjust the way it goes this way and the way it goes down. So obviously you can If I click that, I can adjust kind of the size here. It's kind of like a triangle. So that's how this one works. Direction and angle is a little different. If I can do 0.5, it's equal on both sides here, and then 45 degree, I can change the angle, obviously, so 56, and I'll change it perfectly. So that's kind of how chamfers work. Let's delete both of these. And now let's get back to our presentation. So now let's look at shell. So shell allows you to create a thin wall shape with a specific thickness. By clicking on the faces to move or which parts to hollow, one can open up the interior of the three-dimensional object. The shell has a variety of cases including open up basic shapes, developing intricate designs for mounting structures. Let's observe the shell tool. So let's go back to our base rectangle here. And if we click on shell at the top here, this doesn't have a shortcut, so you can't really use. So you can click on faces, right? If I click on this top face here, look what happens. I can remove the top face and you can see the inside. Now, if I click on the hollow feature, I can click on the parts to hollow, and then you can verify. If I do this, right, I can remove, and you can see it creates this kind of wall shape on the inside. So that's very, very cool. You can use this for a variety of different things. You can change the wall thickness. Let me just remove hollow so I can show you. Here, you can change it to 0.25 if you want the walls to be a little thicker. And so when I think of shell, I think of like a cabinet or like a drawer. Like you want something to be hollow on the inside. And so this is a great tool to use for those kind of things. If you're creating like a drawer or a table or something that requires something hollow on the inside, shell is a phenomenal tool for that. All right, now it's time for some practice. So let's look at this guided practice here. Our goal is to create this kind of shape here. And this is a very easy shape to create. So I'm just going to walk through it with you guys here. So let's create a new part studio here. And let's call it guided practice. Awesome. Let's hide these guys here. Hide this face. We need top actually. So let's hide these guys. Awesome. So now we have our top face here looking very nice. And so now we're trying to create, you can see here that there's kind of a hexagonal base to this entire design here. And so we're going to try to replicate that. It's kind of like a cup. So let's create our base with a hexagon. Click here, up here. And then you see this, it's called inscribed polygon. This is a new different type of shape. So if I click here, I can, well, I want this to go actually. Yeah, let's try this again. So here, we wanted to start at the center. And so we're going to click at the center and we're going to create a shape. And then you can adjust the number of sides your polygon has. I only want 6. Awesome. So let's also adjust this radial distance. I want it to be 2 or 3. Make it 3. So now 3 is a little bit bigger. Looks really nice. And so now we're going to have to create our main cup. So let's do this. So let's create our extrusion, just the basic extrusion here, and let's say we want it to be 10 inches tall. Now it's starting to look like a cup. All right, very cool. And then what we can do is, because we have both a circle and a thing, you can see use the construction lines. What we can do here is there's many different ways you can do this, obviously, but what you can do is create, well, okay, let's do it this way. So let's start at the top here. We'll just do it it's a little harder, but we can still do it this way. So we can just create an extrusion at the top here, and then we can do a center point circle all the way to the edge. Sort of like that. And then what we can do is we can use the remove feature. Yeah, let's try it a little differently. So I see what the problem is here. That makes really sense. I don't know what I was doing. So let's start with the center and let's just make it 2, right? We'll make it 2, or well, 2.5. We'll do 2.5. 2.5. Coincident. Yeah. So we can obviously you can make this any size you want. You can, let's do 4.5. Let's see what happens. 4.5. That's good. And so now let's create a hole at the top. So we'll use the remove feature to do that. And we'll go all the way down to about here. Let's say here. Right. Awesome. We'll do 9.5. So we have like a 5 point. Up at the bottom. Awesome. So now let's do our thing. So we can see here that inside, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a sort of chamfer at this edge here. So we're going to do that. So click on, remember, how do we do this? We click on chamfer, and then we click on the edge we want to do. And obviously we can reduce it. So we'll do 0.25, for example. Once you look at that, you created a nice little chamfer rim. You can create a nice little rim here for the extrusion. So now let's go down and we'll create this revolve. You see there's like a circular kind of thing going on at the bottom. But first, obviously, we got to make sure we have all our parameters for that. So first, let's create a line. This goes across here to here. Okay? So we kind of have a shape that we can revolve. Okay. Now, what we can do is we can click on this guy. So first let's click on revolve. We have all our features. And let's see if it worked. Okay. So this is not, well, it's not working. Let's see what's going wrong here. So we see here that, there we go. There you go. So now we've kind of created that same exact shape. And the last thing is to make it this color. So we highlight the entire thing, we click edit appearance here, and then we click that blue color we want. Awesome. And so you can see here, it creates a very similar, if not the exact same as this guy here. So this is a great guided practice. Hopefully you guys did it along with me. This will get you really good practice with these new tools. And yeah, that's basically it. So let's go back to a presentation. All right, so this is your performance task now. So unlike previous ones, this performance task will be a little bit more freestyle. Your task is just to create a house like this. You may choose whatever dimensions or size you want, but you must use the following designs: shell, chamfer, fillet, and remove extrusion. So I'll give you time. I'm gonna stop talking for a few minutes. Let you guys pause the video and work through creating something like this house over here, and we will come back in a second. All right. So this does take a while to do, and I understand that if you guys, wasn't able to do it. But now let's take a look at the solution. So I already created it. So let's look at the different features here. Let's look at this. So we have our main sketch here at the bottom. You can see here, it's simply, let's look at it. Let's look at it. So it's just a 6x4 rectangle at the bottom. Then we did an extrude to bring it all the way up. Very simple, very simple, very effective as well. So I think it's 4 inches. Awesome. So now we created kind of the base of our house here. So now what we have to do here is create a shell-ish because we want it to be open on the inside. So we want to kind of do a hole inside the house because we're going to create a doorway for the house. Now, then we have our second sketch here, which we use to create the base of the house. And, we created a base that is the same size. And sketch 3, we create a side. You could also use the add. We can use the add feature here to remove the side, but you can always create an extrusion. And then obviously you can use the add feature for the extrude to extrude outward. And sketch 4 is this doorway that we kind of created for, let's say, a garage. And then you can see here that we have fillets on the inside, fillets here, fillets here. So we used fillets to, let's delete this. I think this is going, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah, so we use fillets here to kind of make it round and make it look nice, make it look a little bit more artistically pleasing. We looked at the doorway. Now we have our remove extrusion that removes all the way to the back. We just did blind 3.5. You can go up the face, do whatever you want on the back. Now we have the fourth extrusion, which is, we're going to extend this up a little bit. Use the add feature again, kind of make it even with this guy. And then fillets on all fillets on these sides as we talked about before. Sketch 5 is, again, this base here, I guess. Yeah, this base. And then extrude 5 is pushing this upward so that it kind of creates that house feel. And then we use chamfers here. So these chamfers are the same side. They just kind of go all the way across here. We can create, we're creating multiple different types of chamfers. So we have this chamfer, and so. And then we look at extrude 6, which is kind of mapping out the doorway, making it look even. You can see here. Oh, not there. Here, that we kind of create a nice looking doorway in here. So, and then number 6, we did our remove extrusion on the doorway. Fillet, then we our second fillet, which is our full round all the way across the top of the door. Then we have an extrude to create this block up here, and then we used our final chamfer to create this sort of feel that kind of makes it like a pointy house. So this is the basic. I hope you guys liked creating that. That was very, very challenging. You had to use a lot of different features here to create it. We used add, shell, chamfer, fillet. We used all of them. So very good job if you're able to do it. If not, no worries. Just keep practicing, and you guys will get it. Obviously. And so, thank you so much for listening to this next tutorial. Please post any questions, comments, or concerns in the comment section below. Happy CADing, and I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for listening.